Hello everyone, my name is Zahir Khan, and about myself, I've done my master's in museum studies from National Museum Institute. I've been a student of history. I have worked with Sanskriti museums as an assistant curator and consultant, and I've been associated with many museum projects. The topic for today's presentation is understanding the social impact of traditional crafts museums, where I'll be focusing on understanding the role, relevance, and the impact of traditional crafts museums. These museums essentially celebrate the rich, diverse, and living traditions of a community, geographical area, or country. Such museums play a pivotal role in reviving the craftsmanship, providing employment to artisans, and preserving the heritage connected with the craft. One such museum is National Crafts Museum and Hastkala Academy, situated in Delhi, which consists of over 30,000 exhibits collected from different parts of India. The collection reflects the continuing tradition of handicrafts and its composition. The traditional craft exhibits are preserved with the objective of providing a source for revival, reproduction, and development of Indian crafts and artisans. Some fine examples of traditional crafts museums would be, of course, National Crafts Museums and Hastkala Academy in Delhi, Sanskriti Museums in Delhi, Kala Bhumi Crafts Museum in Bhubaneswar, and there are some organizations working in the crafts world with organizations such as Delhi Crafts Council and Khamir and Kutch. So these museums have streamlined, as we can say, the process of providing a connection, and they are providing a common platform for different stakeholders to enrich their experiences with one another. Traditional crafts museums have unequivocally inherited anthropological aspects of its collection by highlighting the harmony between the crafts and the craftsmen. Furthermore, they have acquired the status of a living museum from the virtue of its training sessions, practical demonstrations, workshops, and community involvement. The active involvement of artisans with the museums and collection has expanded the scope of tangible heritage and intangible heritage in the confines of a museum. Moving on to the visuals, as you could see, this is the National Crafts Museum, this is Sanskriti Museums, and this is Kala Bhumi Crafts Museum in Orissa. So museums can have a significant influence on society. They enrich the lives of individuals, create strong and resilient communities, and promote a vision of social inclusion. There is an urge for increased social impact of museums. Museums can enrich our experiences, exterminate biases and stereotypes, arouse emotional and cultural connect, providing inspiration, and challenges negative attributes of society. With society facing issues such as racism, inequality, and poverty, museums have helped us debate, study, and challenge such issues and promote social inclusion. This can be achieved through discourses, public involvement, engaging with diverse communities in ways that remain congruent to the contemporary morals and ethics of our society. Take, for instance, the exhibition on Hajj pilgrimage entitled Journey to the Heart of Islam in 2012 in the British Museum, which celebrated the idea of social inclusion, challenge the stereotypes, and arouse an emotional connect of visitors with the community. Lover's Bowl by Karen Atherley, displayed in exhibition titled Every Object Tells a Story in Nottingham Museum. The object depicts a homosexual couple, and its placement in a mainstream exhibition right in the middle of a main gallery raised few eyebrows, but it projected gay relationship as part of our society and paved the way for social inclusion. So traditional craft museums are non-formal pedagogical instruments of social change or reforms that impart knowledge about its collection and evaluate the effectiveness of its programs. American Alliance of Museums identified the educational role of museums as the core to museum services to the public. According to them, the public dimensions of museums leads them to perform the public service of education, a term that in its broadest sense includes exploration, study, and observation. Traditional craft museums are often viewed as institutions that collect, study, and share human experiences. Such museums are described as storytellers with the empathy for people and a bonding medium for our society. Through these narrative styles, we get a better understanding of a traditional handicraft and acquire a sense of its culture that helps us to develop new perspectives that changes how we think and feel. These narratives connect us with people, places, and culture and compel us to form an emotional bond with the collection. Walking through the terracotta gallery of Sanskriti museums gives us a brief tour of living craft traditions in different states of India. The Madhubani wall painting of Bihar section shows how well connected our artistic patterns are with their respective culture. These museums develop some stories woven around the objects which can have an impact with prior knowledge and lead to easy understanding of the narrative. The Fard painting is not only a testimony of an artist's credentials, but a canvas of stories connected to each other. Museums choose identical spatial features to supplement their narratives and establish an authentic ambience for its visitors. Unlike others, National Crafts Museum did not blindly adopt the Western architectural museum concept but designed in a manner where traditional and modern coexist, that maintained the overall equilibrium of the place and supported the traditional theme of the museum, which is open to sky spaces. The museums are centered on the marginalized communities or disadvantaged groups have shown from their own perspective, which further brings positive changes and challenges stereotypes and biases. The Manipuri section in Sanskriti museums is the best example of women empowerment, as the women are forbidden from touching the pottery wheel. So they devised, as an act of defiance and devotion, they started hand maneuvering or handcrafted the pot without any involvement of a wheel. The section is designed in a manner that people are naturally intrigued by the collection. The live demonstration of craftsmanship or such craft-based workshops inside the museum premises is an extended narrative of a traditional craft museum. Now let's understand Richard Sandal's theory of understanding social impact of museums. This framework suggests that museums can impact positively on the lives of individuals, act as a catalyst for social regeneration, and as a vehicle for empowerment with different communities, and contribute towards the creation of an equal and just society. This threefold classification helps us to understand different nuances of social impact on stakeholders of a museum. So this concerns the direct influence of museums on an individual. The potential outcomes becomes wide-ranging from the personal, psychological, and emotional to pragmatic. Personal biases, demographic factors, emotional quotient also plays an important role in impacting or influencing an individual. Access to museum collection, interaction with different stakeholders, familiarity with museums and its collection becomes instrumental in influencing the lives of visitors. Museums are purposefully designing programs that position access to the museum not as an ultimate objective but as a means of helping to bring personal and practical benefits to the individuals. Now let's move to the community. It is based on the influence of museums on specific social groups or geographically defined community. As community involvement is an integral aspect of traditional craft museums, so it becomes mandatory to study the impact of such museums on a community. For example, the employment opportunity provided by the National Crafts Museum to Gond community of Madhya Pradesh annually to demonstrate its practice and teach their art form and earn their livelihood, or the economic benefits extended by Khami to Rabadi nomadic community of Gujarat by organizing exhibitions and providing a source of income to such artisans. The role of museums in influencing or impacting communities can be assessed in empowering, capacity building, and providing decision-making opportunities to them. So a traditional crafts museum or an institution can become instruments of self-knowledge by making it a place to learn and regularly practice skills needed for the well-being of the tradition. Now this brings us to the most anticipated component of this threefold division, which is the impact of museums on society. So traditional craft museums are challenging the unequal, patriarchal, and dominant social narratives of other museums by laying emphasis on distinct narrative styles, social inclusion of marginalized communities. They're also trying to redefine pedagogical methods, and promoting the interaction between stakeholders. These museums have become pioneers in promoting the equality of opportunity and pluralistic views. So let's see how these traditional craft museums forms an impact on the society. A museum channelizes its resources to expand its repository of collection and knowledge and develops an effective communication system to successfully deliver its message to the people. Every museum has a different understanding of society, but it can find ways to maximize its social impact. In traditional craft museums, everyone has the right to meaningful participation in life and work of museums. This forms an emotional connectivity of different stakeholders with the museums. Museums enhances our quality of life, improves our mental and physical health. Often these museums work in partnership with well-being and health organizations, and at this time outreach department plays a pivotal role in taking the museum objects to schools, colleges and hospitals. Museums creates a sense of belonging and togetherness by engaging with communities and encouraging active participation in decision making. A traditional crafts museum help us to appreciate our past, acknowledge diversity, promote harmony and encourage us to reflect on challenges such as racism, biasness and sexism. Such museums inspire learning for children and adults through narratives, engagement, architecture such as National Crafts Museum, and interaction with artisans and understanding the art form. Connection with authentic cultural objects stimulates interest in history, tradition and culture. Depiction of a marginalized community or culture has challenged stereotypes and negative perspectives, and people have developed a sense of affinity towards the collection. Visitors' responses to the museum become largely positive, and the artisans themselves find the experience of working in a mainstream cultural organization very empowering. Museums do not directly express their ideology, rather they exist as narratives and display of visual ideology. Sometimes museums unknowingly engage in the dynamics of power relations by disseminating the dominant social narrative, which leads to negative implications for the stakeholders. Overall, the social impact of traditional craft museums has created a bond between different stakeholders and has challenged the negative attributes. Traditional craft museums are different from other standard museums with respect to their ideology and its impact on the people. These museums consider living tradition an important aspect where people hold an indispensable position. These artisans, volunteers, researchers and other visitors bring their own stories with them which influence one another. That's it for this time. Thank you.